And I'm gonna be high.
Good on you, Donald. I'm the Rocket Man, yeah.
I'm a rocket man. And I'm gonna be
Rocket Man.
I'm a rocket man.
Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Logistics. We got Ben Tschirgi. Is that how you pronounce it? I took a big guess
pretty
there.
close. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's Tschirgi. It's like Fergie, but
Tschirgi.
sure.
Fergie Tschirgi.
Fergie,
There it
Tschirgi.
is.
There you go.
So let's see here. Ben, what are you doing? Where are you at? Where do you live? Tell the audience.
Yeah, so I am in sunny most of the time, Sarasota, Florida. I started a company called Science of Sales. We are a cold outreach agency specializing in cold email. I am one of the few, or maybe many, depending on what your email inbox looks like, people who actually enjoys sending cold email. And so, that's what I really like to do, and that's what I help businesses do. Is grow by sending cold emails.
And you help them craft the messaging, help them that side, but also I'm betting your agency will help them get deliverability and all of the other things that people don't maybe think about.
Right. And it's like cold email is one of those things that when you start to go down the rabbit hole after you notice, like, okay, my sales team has been sending out cold emails, all of a sudden they're landing in the spam folder. Why is that? So you start digging into cold email deliverability. It's like a rabbit hole that you can go down, and it's just gets darker, and the cobwebs and spider webs are all over the place. So it's a constantly changing thing, because it's like you've got Microsoft and Google out there that are constantly changing how
they're moving the goalposts all the time.
They're moving the goalposts. There's all that stuff. There's all the different spam defenses is popping up. And they're, ultimately, we're trying to help people who we think should be in your inbox get to your inbox. And we're kind of battling against the billions of spam bots out there that are just spamming everybody with phishing emails and, all the really bad stuff. We're like the slightly less bad spam, right?
Yeah. And if you're taking an altruistic view, it's, hey, that you have to get a relevant message in the right timing to the right prospect at scale. And that's something that most companies never perfect. Right. In fact, I'd say 1% of them actually put in the effort to perfect it. The rest are like, well, the sales team needs to perform more. So send more emails. But if you're just saying, hey, where's my freight? Do you have any of those truckloads? Maybe the messaging's not there, even if you get through. So it's certainly, I think, probably the most effective way to grow at scale in the freight industry and in others. And you work with, some of the freight industry, but you work with clients who are outside of it as well. We were kind of just chopping it up before the show. But you give me your background a little bit. If you guys are listening to this, you probably know Ben much better than you know me anyways. But you were in the freight industry for many years, maybe 10? I don't even know.
Yeah. I started cradle to grave sales rep back in 2013 with a company called Cowan Systems. Did that for 10 years, moved around a little bit, got an opportunity to be a general manager in our Atlanta branch, and kind of figured out what it was like to manage people. Realized I was both not great at it, but also, kind of hated it at the same time.
Yeah.
You like pivot towards like, okay, I kind of want to get back into actually selling again. I feel like there's this transition that sort of happens to a lot of salespeople, especially like in logistics, where you're kind of like, okay, you get really good at slinging freight, selling freight, and you're like, okay, what's my next like career path? And it's sort of like, okay, you can either be like a sales rep for the rest of your life and you're traveling around building your book of business and doing that stuff, or you go the management route. And I'm really grateful in retrospect I went the management route, even though like I kind of hated it at the time. And it's like you're all of a sudden you're going from dealing with freight issues, which we know are like the worst, to dealing with like people issues that are really complex and tough, because ultimately like you're around a group of people that you're really trying to support and help like move their career and help the company go. And at the same time, it's like, you got to deal with all the HR stuff. Are they coming in on time? Like all of that stuff that like when you get in the weeds of it, it's like, oh, this is like not as fun as like,
These are my
yeah,
buddies,
these are my
and
babies.
also stop coming to work late.
Yeah.
Please.
That's
If you
it.
do, we will have more bush lights, I promise. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I'm going to pull a thread on that. So you talked about how, like, in sales, when you're successful, and it's so counterintuitive to how a company should grow. Every company does this in one way or another, and some are better at it than others. Almost all the top sellers end up getting moved into a different career path because they're so effective at something, and they want to move up and have progression, even though they would make more money staying in their role, typically less base but more potential, and they end up moving into management. And most top sellers are terrible managers,
Right.
and most managers that are good at it are terrible sellers. But it just seems to be, especially in the freight industry, like a career path of like, hey, you'll be a carrier sales, and then maybe customer sales, and then VP. And it's like, okay, now manage. You're the best seller. Now manage the other sellers and get them to do what you do, which has never really been proven to work
Right.
because
Right.
it's weird. Most top sellers don't know how they're doing it. It's not. There are some who are just naturally type A and a good seller, but that's pretty rare as well.
Yeah, it is. And I tried to go like the player coach route. I was like, okay, like I always felt like a manager that I had that I would respect was somebody that was like, in the
In
trenches
it with
doing
you.
it. Yeah. And so like that's the route that I took early on. And but it's impossible to scale like that. Like if you're trying to say like, okay, it works if you've got a small office of like 5, 10 people, but if you're like, okay, how do
Yep,
we blow this up like nationwide with like 8 different offices or blah blah blah, whatever you got going on, like, okay, now you've got to zoom out a little bit.
for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Well, and I think that's part of, you mentioned it, like you started Science of Sales and you were in freight, and there was, obviously an acquisition, and we all know that that's public knowledge. And you said, hey, I'm going to start this thing similar to how I started Rocket. But when you're talking about managing people, that also is like every founder has to learn that as well. You end up managing people. And I've, I can't articulate it as well as I'd like to, but I think the reason that I don't like managing people, but I do like solving customers' problems in freight or in sales, in the sales cycle, is because there is an answer on one of the sides. Like there's a clear, it's like, okay, the load broke down. We can get a power only and recover it. There's like, you can solve it if you're good at problem solving. People problems, not only do you not know what to do, but even if you make the right decision, it could still be the wrong one. And you may not know for a long period of time if you made the right one. There's no
Oh,
immediate
totally.
feedback loop. You can't
Yeah,
fix it. Uh,
yeah,
so
totally.
it's so abstract that you're like, oh, I don't like it because I can't tell if I fixed it or not.
Yeah.
And that's been my,
No, totally. I miss that, like that instant like gratification of solving a problem that you get in logistics. Like you get that constantly every day. It's like, oh, you've got this last second load. Like, let me get on it. Like, boom, I covered it. Like, oh, like you're so grateful that I
yeah,
covered it. Like it's a win-win. It's like the best feeling. And like, yeah, I get that a little bit. I work with some freight forwarders, so I'm in it a little bit, but most of my clients are outside of freight. So I definitely, oh man, like I miss that part for sure because you're right. It's like all this stuff, the like little decisions that you make each day of like, who am I adding on to the team? Like, what does our team look like? What is, do we have a meeting like this week? Like how do we structure that? Like those are important decisions, but you don't you don't get that same like win loss kind of
yeah.
feeling.
Or you have somebody who's not performing, and you're like, okay, I'll just give them a quota. And that's what
Yeah.
everybody does. Give them a quota. It's like, well, maybe their girlfriend broke up with them. Maybe they lost a family member. Or maybe they're just in a funk. Or maybe they suck. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But a quota almost never fixes it. So it's just an interesting management technique too. That's how sales has gone. And I bring up sales and revenue not because you started a company for that, but because if you're building a company, that's the only thing that you should get good at first. And then you can try to figure out how to manage people later. But my favorite saying at Rocket is that revenue heals all wounds. And if you have a healthy pipeline and you have a problem customer, it's a lot easier to say, you know what? We don't need that customer. Let's just get another one.
Totally.
And I've boiled it down. I'm 5 years in, and I boiled it down to most operational problems are because of a customer that you're servicing that's not a good fit for you as a company, or they're just difficult to deal with. They pay late, they argue, they yell. And the reason that you have to do that is because you need their revenue. But if you can create a company where you don't need it, suddenly you have wind in your sails because you don't have the problems and you can just go get new clients.
Oh, yeah, it's everything. I think, and two, it's like, okay, if you've got a healthy sales pipeline, prospects coming in, like new customers that you're setting up, like it just takes the pressure off of like, okay, like forecasting, like what are we going to do next month? What, oh, we're losing this project, or oh, we lost this client. Like how are we going to fill that? And also, it's like a total morale thing for sales reps of like, if you don't have that like pipeline, you're constantly like in the back of your mind, you're like, oh man, if I lose, if my numbers are down like next month, I got nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If this deal doesn't close,
yeah,
then it's the end of the world because I don't have other deals. And so it's kind of crazy. Jeb Blunt is like my favorite author in sales. And he talks about if you only have a few deals and there's high pressure to close them and they matter and you don't have a healthy pipeline, you actually do things that you wouldn't normally do to try to close the deal, and it causes them to churn or close
yeah,
lost. And it's a feedback loop. But if you have more and you're just kind of like, oh, hey, I don't know if you had a chance to review that contract. If you want to talk about it next week, instead of, hey, it's 11:50 in the next 9 minutes. Would you be willing to sign this for a $200 Apple gift card?
yeah.
Then they're like, I can sense it. And then, there's a lot to be said about that. But let me change gears a little bit. So you're in freight for that long, then you start your own company. Why are you crazy? Why did you start your own company?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely was like, always something that I wanted to do. I think too, like, when I first started as a like freight, like cradle to grave rep, I was always like, oh man, like when you're doing like 75% of it, or you think like 75% of it, like, you're like, I could have my own business. Doesn't have to be freight. Like I could do something like this. But like that stuff you don't see behind the scenes, man, that's really tough.
Especially in freight, like the stuff that people don't do is pay carriers and invoice customers and that type of thing. And it's like, oh, turns out
Yeah,
that's the business. That's the P&L.
that's
If you
everything.
don't get paid before you pay the carrier, or if you pay the carriers
Yeah,
and you never get paid by the customer, oof.
yeah, absolutely. And I've also learned really quick, like it's tough to separate. At least for me, it's been tough to separate myself from the business. Like I thought like early on, I'd be able to do like I'd be able to wear every single hat and like do them the best. Like I'd be able to wear every single hat and be like the best person for each role. But like you notice really quick when you're going in alone, like all of your weaknesses, like they're just like they're right there, and it's like, oh man, I wish there was somebody else that could do it.
Yeah.
But at first, it's like if you don't have revenue coming in, like you gotta figure it out and do it. And it's real. It can be really challenging. I don't know if you felt like this. Like, it doesn't seem like it because I remember seeing rocket shipping like on LinkedIn or on like TikTok, like early on. I was like, nobody, like no freight people were like out there like
Yeah.
advertising their companies at all. And I just find it tough to. It was a lot easier to do marketing and stuff for somebody else, and it's really hard to do it that on something that feels so like personal and so like close.
Oh my goodness. I have so many opinions on that. Like I still can't do it. Like I see, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I just don't know how they do it. Right.
Yeah.
But I see so many founders, and maybe not so many, but there's several in our industry that their entire posting technique is to brag about the company. And they do it in a way that's like, we onboarded this brand and now we hit 1,000 customers and now we raised this funding. And I just have always struggled with that because it is so personal to me. Like would feel bad sharing good news and then being like, yeah, but also, a customer didn't pay us 300 grand last month. And, we got a tight budget on this and we couldn't travel to this conference because, and I was like, oh, I can't do both. So
Yeah, yeah,
I was like, I can't post just the wins. So I won't post. I don't want to post the losses necessarily. I don't think there's any point in being like, hey, today sucked. Hope you guys all know that. The building in public, be transparent. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, nobody wants to get a message in the group chat about how bad someone's day was.
Right.
Like, if you got a family member that's always like, hey, my day sucked today, and they do that every day, it's like, well, my day sucked too. My kid broke his arm, and then we had to go to the ER, and then my brother was. But if you did that all the time, people get sick of it because everybody's got their own stuff. But yeah, I think that it is so hard to post with your own company and talk about and just try to figure out what brand it should be and all of
Yeah,
that. And
yeah.
I've struggled with it throughout the years, but I was like, well, I'm just going to post and see how that goes. It worked really well for us.
Yeah.
But I don't post as much anymore. I still do the podcast and I still post every once in a while. But we were talking about Freight X, and and this is kind of funny too, I guess, but now the audience will really get to know Gabe. I don't post on Freight X anymore as often, and I was like trying to like build a brand there instead of LinkedIn. But I noticed that the only time I want to post is when I feel very strongly about an opinion that's a hot take. Because I'm just a contrarian. So like whatever the crowd thinks, I'm like, I think differently. And then I would post it and get backlash, and I didn't have the actual time in the day because I got 3 toddlers in a business. I was like, I don't have time to actually defend my position, so then I won't post it. And I've been much happier not posting. But it is interesting that you brought up that angle of like posting for a brand versus your own,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
having to live with that.
Oh, absolutely. I've noticed that too, being off social media. Like, I do feel mostly off of social media. Like, I do feel happier, and I'm like,
Oh
like
yeah.
things are kind of at odds because like there is an importance to like marketing, and like I've found like some of my best customers are from X, and from LinkedIn, like it is a great channel, but like damn, it can be a rabbit hole. It can be like a time suck, and it can just make you feel horrible about yourself.
Yeah, and then you just like, I am argumentative in general. Like if someone states an opinion, I'm like, if everybody believes that, it must be false. Like I've always just seen the world that way, where it's like the whole crowd goes this way. I'm like, must not be right. I don't know why I'm a skeptic,
Have we
but I'm
ever
also like,
have we ever
yeah, go
argued
ahead.
on LinkedIn or X before? Have we ever had a debate before? I can't.
No, but I have had one. Like that's how I've met some of my friends. I used to debate Curtis Garrett all the time.
Ah,
That's how we started to become friends. Was I
yes.
would be like, hey, you think this is stupid, and I just decided that I have to be on the other side of that. And I find myself, but that'll stay with me for like a day. If I'm arguing with somebody on X, like I think about it throughout the day, so I quit doing it. But I do still watch and I still interact a little bit. But Freight X is pretty hot right now, and there's a lot of, there's one interesting thing I'll shout out. I don't know her last name. Maybe I do. Danielle Chaffin. She works at, I'm gonna
Yes.
butcher this, Revanova. I
Revenue.
think it's
Yes.
called. Is that how it's
Yep.
pronounced?
Yep.
But she's been like down a rabbit hole of this Hope Transportation, and now I'm gonna get a cease and desist for putting this out, but because I think that's what happened with a couple of people. But the Hope Transportation was in this accident in Texas, and the driver, it was supposed to be a team load, and it was just a solo driver, and he was a, I don't know how the politically correct term is, but illegal immigrant, um, and shouldn't have been driving over the road, and it killed a family of 5. But it wasn't just that incident. That company was like a shell of US DOT numbers and different owners that
Wow.
allegedly, all of this is alleged, that they just kept buying different MCs and using a dispatching company overseas, and they were driving a load for a big broker. I will not name them, but for the USPS. And I used to do business as a broker for the USPS, and so I used to see that side of it, and I've seen all of that, and I'm like, oh, so glad we don't do business there anymore. But she was like her own private investigator on X, and I bet she was getting 100,000 views a post because it was just going viral, and she was like doing the journalism of trying to figure out who owns Hope Trans and how it all happened and how many MCs and USDOTs they've recycled through for freight fraud. So it is kind of fun to follow along with
Oh,
that
that's
stuff.
cool. Oh, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that I love that. Oh, damn. Yeah,
now I just got, if you say anything, don't say the word Hope Trans because I bet you'll get a cease and desist. So don't do it, but I will. So yeah, it was in the news. Governor Abbott's like investigating it. The governor of
okay,
Texas is
okay.
involved. So it's public information. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff on Freight X.
Yeah, I like the meme. There's different meme wars on FreightX.
Mhm.
There were plenty of hot takes on FreightX when I was super plugged in. It was fun.
Now that we're on the topic, this is just kind of fun. I normally talk about other things on this podcast, but this is relevant to freight. Ken Adamo, and I've had him on the show, I believe. Yeah, I did. Ken Adamo is very active, and that guy goes after people.
Oh,
Like,
love it.
he just goes after people on there. It's pretty fun. There's like a burner account that someone created that was a fake Ken Adamo account. And I don't know how he did it, but he was his own private investigator. He figured out who was behind the account, and then they deleted it. And there was a whole bunch of drama there
Oh,
too.
wow.
But there is a lot of arguing about spot rates and the market and DAT being, buying convoy and all of that stuff. It's kind of
Yeah,
fun to follow along and stay in the news.
yeah.
But at the same time, I just like to build businesses. So I've just been kind of keeping my head down doing that.
Nice. Yeah, it
So
does, and it kind of like you kind of like are busy like grinding, and then you like look up and it's like, oh, like a couple months passed. Like, oh, like okay, cool.
yeah, that's for business and in life. Like we just adopted a 2-year-old, and
Oh,
like that
nice.
was 10 months ago we started, and then we finalized this summer. Now I have 3 kids. And I was like, man, and it was her birthday this last weekend. So we had a birthday party. And I remembered, I was like, oh, the first time I ever met her was at a birthday party last year that we got invited to meet her. And I was like, oh, 1 year. What? How did that happen?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so speaking of family stuff, what's your family life like? How old are you? What do you do in life other than work? What's your background?
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I'm mid 30s,
Mhm.
approaching mid 30s. I'll say approaching mid 30s. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I met my wife like right, in college. We got married really, really young. Got married right after college, and you know, I before I got into freight, I was super into like movie stuff. I thought I was going to be an actor or be in music or do something
Yeah.
like that. And then you realize really quickly that like anything that like everybody wants to do is like, oh man, you're going to really have to want it to pursue that. And so like after getting fired on a movie set after one day, of being a production assistant, unpaid production assistant after like an hour one day, I was like, okay, I might pivot here a little bit. But I
Yeah.
still like to do that kind of stuff on the side.
If you see your TikTok, I get it now.
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
it.
yeah. Totally, totally. I'm a wannabe a musician, actor, like all of that stuff. So I like to do different, whether it's like community theater or improv or like music. I was in a band called Unicorn Apocalypse. So like to have fun and do things like that. My wife actually, so we met in college. She actually stayed in the film space. So she's a full blown filmmaker and artist and travels around the country making really cool art and different films. So sometimes I get to tag along and
Yeah.
do that kind of stuff too.
Live
I live,
vicariously through her.
totally,
That's good.
totally.
Good.
I live vicariously through her, and I've been doing freight the last 10 years, and now cold email. So it's I'd like to say I have a lot going on outside of that, but really last 6 months head down is just really in science of sales and figuring out deliverability and building email infrastructures for people.
Yeah, not only that, figuring out how to invoice clients and get paid and
Yeah.
run a P&L. And I'm assuming you're running it pretty lean, but are you planning to build a team, or are you going to stay lean as an agency? Is it going to be contractors? What's your plan?
Yeah, so I initially, it's a great question. Like initially, my thought was, I think build out an agency and then quickly develop from that agency a SaaS product and tool that I would first kind of trial with my existing clients that I have and then release it out to the public. But I'm still kind of figuring out what that future is going to be. I think definitely staying lean is great. I love staying profitable. I don't want to like overshoot my what's the term? I don't know. Overshoot my skis.
Your
Something like
skis, your
that. All right.
skis. Yep.
That's a term. That sounds
Yeah.
like a term.
You're out over your skis
Out
would
over
be
your
what it is.
skis. That's
There
it.
it is.
So yeah, and especially in the age of AI, like I mean, it just keeps getting better. Like I feel like you can
So
really,
fast.
Yeah. You can do so much with so little right now, and so it's working really well so far. So I think just continuing to build out the agency and seeing if there's a SaaS tool that we come out with at some point, that would be really cool. But yeah, for right now, it's just build the agency and keep building that happy client base up.
Yeah, and I think that this is pretty rare. I've asked, and I've had a lot of people on the show that are pretty transparent, but some of them run pretty large companies and they can't be as transparent as they want to be, which is fun to have somebody who's just starting 6 months ago and then like kind of pull the curtain back, so to speak. But I liked your answer. You said, well, I want it to be this, but I'm going to keep doing this until I figure that out. No one's really ever willing to admit that.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's kind of, people don't like to build in public because they don't like to fail publicly. That's about the
Right.
only reason they won't. But that's kind of like pulls through to, I don't want to like admit that I don't know exactly what the next step is. But every business owner is like, well, there's no playbook. And if the market changes, then I have to change faster. And if there's a pivot, then I have to be the first one to pivot. That's the best business owners. But for some reason, no one will admit that they don't know exactly what the next 18 months are going to be. And if I pull a thread from earlier, you're talking about forecasting and other stuff. And it's like, well, I've never done a forecast because we have a healthy sales pipeline. So we just keep growing. And we like, the only thing I focus on is not churning customers.
Mhm.
Sales motion works. The product is getting built and it's always getting better. And then if you just keep your customers, well, you don't have to have forecasts. You just keep all your customers.
Yeah.
Pretty simple formula.
Love it.
That's really difficult, simple,
Yeah.
not easy, but it is simple.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah. And I think, it's almost like there's so much changing with AI, and especially, in the space I'm in with cold outreach, like there's a million different cold outreach agencies. I get like myself, like cold calls and emails every day from somebody like, oh, I've got an
Oh, yeah.
AI powered sales tool or whatever. And so like, kind of what I thought I was building in February has changed like several times, just because like everything keeps changing with cold outreach. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, how do you start a relationship, like a new business relationship with somebody? Like that essence of what that is like isn't going to change, and that kind of remains the same. But like
Yeah.
all the tools and everything is just moving so fast that it's also really interesting to see like just how quickly like new SaaS tools, new companies are just being spun up like seemingly like out of nowhere, and it's just constantly
Yeah.
evolving and changing. Yeah.
I think that the AI stuff, I have always been, I want something to be true always. So if there's a cool claim, I want to believe it. That's why I love conspiracy theories. I want to believe them. It's hard to convince myself some of them are wrong, but more of them are right than you'd think. So where I was going with that is that like AI, there's always like a debate. Like you can be an AI doomer and be like, yeah, it's not going to be as useful as you think, and it's not going to change coding. And I've always been on the other side. Like I think that's going to change all of that. And now this summer, it's pretty true. Like Claude Code, if you're a developer and you set up Claude Code, you really can write 50% of your code. And you can have one developer build applications in weeks instead of months or years. It's really pretty incredible. And we're doing it at Rocket. Troy is our CTO, but he's a full stack developer. He's using Claude Code to build us freight bill audit tools and invoicing systems. And it's like, he was telling me, he's like, yeah, this would take me, if I was doing it with a dev team, like 9 months, but we did it in 4.5 weeks.
Wow.
And so that's real developers. And then there's vibe coding,
Yeah.
which I like to do.
Yeah.
And I'm using, Replit or Lovable or Bolt or Base 44, whatever the cooler one is. But that is, maybe I'm pulling a thread from your creative side. You're talking about being in theater and all of that. I was like, I was in speech in high school, but I was also in a lot of sports. I joined speech my senior year, long story. But I've always been really creative in like big ideas. And now vibe coding, I can like test them really quickly.
Oh,
And
totally.
so I ripped out Salesforce and HubSpot, and I just built it in Lovable, and like the whole team uses it,
Oh,
and
really?
it works. It's got
Oh,
Google
hell
authentication
yeah.
and databases, and it's hosted with Supabase
Yeah,
open source. Like I did it all,
Mm-hmm.
and it works way better than HubSpot and Salesforce. And I pay $50 a month to Lovable. And
Amazing.
a couple of the team members thought I was crazy for trying to do that, and I was like, well, Salesforce is cool, but it does way more than I need.
Mhm.
And it doesn't do exactly what I need,
Mhm.
which is, hey, I just want to have our total addressable market in a database. And then I want to assign the companies to sales reps. And I want to drop them into workflows, sequences. And then I want to call them. And then when I want to do emails, I don't need to build that in. I'll use Smart Lead. I don't need that integrated.
Right.
And it's just so custom, but that's a really small use case that we're doing. I think that the advantage is for the smaller players. And I consider Rocket, I always think it's a big business, but we're a very small business comparatively to a Fortune 500. I think small business is a stupid name. I think this should just be called startups.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
small business administration, it's like, oh, what great branding. You're a $200 million market cap company. Oh, small business. What? I don't get it.
Right.
And so I was going with that, where if small businesses in freight specifically can build tools like that with AI, and you can build SaaS tools and go to market faster with leaner teams, the big dogs will be fine. CH Robinson and TQL ain't going anywhere, but the mid market, if they don't do that because they don't have to, and they just continue to use the legacy TMSs and the legacy factoring companies and the legacy freight bill audit providers, they're toast.
Yeah, all those legacy, I mean, and legacy CRMs. I mean, like really HubSpot. It's weird. It's like HubSpot's like a legacy CRM now. Like,
Yeah, I know.
it's kind of funny. Like, and that's so cool that you did that. Like, but like that's what I've always thought. It's so interesting. Is like you have to pick one of these. Okay, am I going to be a Salesforce company, HubSpot, or like, and then you have to build everything around it. And then
Yeah,
it's
your
like,
custom. You have to pay somebody like $100K a year sometimes to put your dashboards together, and you're
yeah,
like, maybe it's only $10K, but you don't get it very good then.
right,
But
right.
it doesn't make any sense.
Totally.
I really think, and I've said this on other episodes, and I'm going to get your opinion on this. Actually, I'm going to ask you, and then I'll tell you what I think.
Okay.
Where is SaaS and freight going? The VC-funded SaaS companies, is it going up or down from here?
Well, and hopefully I have a different opinion on this than you. So
Yeah.
this can be our first true debate. Hash it out.
Yes.
But I definitely see it's going to be like I'm with you on like mid-tier, like freight brokerages, logistics companies get taken out because there's going to be the whales, and then there's going to be people that are like startups that have like, dude, you have all these AI, you plug and play these different
Happy Robot and
yeah,
Vuma.
Happy
Yeah.
Robot, Vuma, all this different stuff. And then you can build with a really, really lean team, you can build $100 million company. Like not.
Yeah, if you're talking revenue per head, it used to be like, oh,
Yeah.
500,000 to 1.5
Right.
million was the range you want to like live in, and now you
Yeah,
could probably do
yeah.
like 5 million a head.
Yeah. Totally.
That's crazy.
Oh,
20 employees, 100 million, you could do it.
Yeah. And if you're not operating there, like, whew, like it's gonna be
Well, yeah, and here's why you'd have to operate there, because margins are only going to get compressed in freight brokerage. And I'm not talking LTL, I'm talking specifically truckload. If it's just a buy-sell transaction, that's in 5 years going to look a lot different. I do think that's shouldn't be controversial, because it's just everything always changes and things change. And look at insurance, like that consolidated. There's insurance brokers, but there's only like 5 companies left that do it. And then everybody just resells their insurance rates. So the broker still exists, but it's more of like a independent insurance agent.
Yeah.
It used to be direct reps for the big companies competing, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
So I don't know if freight will do the same thing, but SaaS, and maybe I'll ask you more specifically, what do you think of the TMS providers, the freight bill audit companies, the factoring companies that are like, they're only VC funded, so they got to grow, or even load boards that try to compete with DAT and Convoy now?
Right.
I would think that if they're starting now, they can do it. But if they've been in business for 5 years, this is going to be really tough because SaaS, when you can build with AI what they've built over 5 years,
Yeah.
and you can't build the same system. You can't build it for 1,000 companies,
Right.
but you could build it just for your company pretty quickly.
Right.
Why would I pay somebody $5K a month to use it?
Yeah. I think that's also one reason I've been hesitant to jump into the SaaS waters too myself, is that I think it's just changing. Like you don't necessarily need to buy from a company. You can build something yourself. So like, okay, like that, then instead of like, I'm really focused on, for my business, helping people like really being a consultant that's coming in there and like building something together with somebody else. And that's what I
Yeah.
really love doing. Like having a like, I'm going to build this tool and I can already see what the future is going to be like 3 to 5 years from now. And I know it's going to, as we grow, it's still going to be useful in like 3 to 5 years. It's like, probably not. I mean, AI is only going to keep getting better. I mean, it's only going to get easier to build your own tools. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's going to be like there's so much consolidation happening right now. It seems like in freight tech that like I can only imagine that just keeps happening. Where it's maybe you've got like highway versus DAT. Like, I don't really know.
Yeah. I mean, I think highway has a unique value prop and they're different than DAT, and they're maybe trying to compete with them now with a load board. I've heard that. I saw that online, but I don't know much about it. But I do think there are these companies that sell SaaS, like Project 44 is a good example. Like they were a powerhouse for so many years. And this isn't to disparage what Jet has done, because he was a dominant in the industry, but he was talking about even this year, like he's transforming the whole company, basically starting over. They still have their services, but they're building something completely brand new because he knows
Right.
like most of the companies were able to figure out, especially in LTL, how to build API connections with the carriers and maintain them because the tech got more easily available. That was before AI. But if you take that
Yeah.
use case to freight bill audit or factoring, there's maybe not even factoring because that's like banking relationships, but another tool of tracking, anything like that. It's like, well, the small players can't afford long term to pay the SaaS fees or don't want to. The mid market will just pay it. The biggest players will pay somebody to build it because it's such a large line item. It's large enough that they'll say, oh, we pay $1 million a year to SMC3
Mm-hmm.
to hold, like just build a tool to hold rates.
Mm-hmm.
So the mid market will keep using the SaaS, which is also my argument for they're going to not innovate.
Yeah.
The small ones don't want to pay the fees. The big ones have enough money to just build it in house, and they do that whenever they can. C.H. Robinson has been doing that for a long time. But the mid market's like, well, we don't want to pay to build it in house, and we can afford the SaaS, so we'll just stay here. And if you're standing still, you're moving backwards. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
that's good hot takes. Let's pivot one more time. How'd you go about like figuring out how to invoice somebody and how to keep track of that? And like, you're gonna have taxes. Like, what do you
Yeah.
got figured out there?
Yeah. I will give a shout out to Nate with. Have you ever talked to Nate with Ballast? Ballast.
Oh, Nate Shoots?
Yeah, absolutely.
What a good guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Shout out Nate Shoots.
Yeah, shout out to Nate. I joined his founders group. I think that like I've tried to just get advice and like ask people about things I
Yeah.
don't know about, which is kind of hard to do because you feel stupid like admitting like, oh, I don't know, admitting like I don't really know where Science of Sales is going like 6 months from now.
Yeah.
Like I mean like, but like that's like. I think you have to do that, or at least I have to do that to really to be able to like move forward, and so that's helped me with some of that stuff. And I mean, you can ask ChatGPT for different things too.
Dude, I'm a Grok 4 guy now,
Okay,
but
Grok
like
4.
I used to be ChatGPT all day.
Yeah,
That thing has taught me more than any business school could.
yeah.
Like you don't need an
Oh,
MBA anymore. You can just say, hey, one of the things I did was I created a workspace with Grok and then I prompted it.
yeah.
And
Okay.
like when you create a workspace, you can prompt it and it's like you can give it a persona and customize the AI. And I was like, hey, you have the knowledge of all of these CEOs and all of these founders and all of these things. Every time I ask you a question, frame it that way. And it's kind of like redundant sometimes. It's
Yeah,
like, if you're trying to grow your company to 150 million as your goal is,
yeah,
and you're using Alex, the founder of Stripe, this is how he did it. And the
yeah.
guy at, it's Airbnb did it this way. I'm like, okay, but what's the answer? But then it'll give you the full, like, hey, here's what you should do. I've learned a lot on that. And it's like, hey, what bookkeeping service should I be using if I need to maximize this? And I'm changing
Right,
from cash to accrual. Pretty big. I don't need to hire a CFO to do that.
right.
You used to have to. Now I do have a CFO, but I didn't hire him to answer that question. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think on
So
the
it's
tough things, like where I get stuck, like, okay, I'll just hire somebody. Like that's also the big lesson. I think the biggest challenge I'm facing right now is like I'm so used to. I've had a mentality for a long time of like, oh, I'm just gonna like build things myself. Like if I can't, if I need to fix something, like I'll fix it. Like if I have a client issue, like I'll jump in there and do it.
yeah,
Okay, I
it's
really
not
gotta,
scalable.
yeah, it's not scalable. I've got to systemize things. So, I do have somebody who's really good on my team that's been helping with that. So that's awesome. And trying to let go, that's where I'm having the most trouble is
Yeah. I frame it as an opportunity cost because like I couldn't frame it as I wouldn't be able to do that job as well because I just have
yeah,
too much pride still, way less than I used to 5 years in. But I still have like, I think I could really do that job. Although I will say I can't do operations anymore because every time that a team member's out and I try to do operations, they ask me not to. I'm still good at it, but they're like, you make more messes.
yeah, yeah,
We're coming back and you can just leave some things.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I stay out of it. But I framed it as if I'm spending my time doing that, then I'm not spending my time on my highest leverage skills, which is going out to market, branding, and getting customers. And then keeping customers and relationships and traveling and walking warehouses and coming up with solutions for clients to keep them for a longer period of time. If I'm not doing those things, even if I'm doing it well over here, it's still an opportunity cost and it's significant. So, I mean, I guess I'll preference that or kind of reference that against. I also have made the mistake of hiring too many people and then no one has enough work to do. And that kills culture too. Because it's hard to clearly define someone's role when you have too many people and you don't know exactly what they should be doing. And then if they don't have a clear defined role and they don't know what they should be doing each day, then they don't feel like they're producing well. And then they don't know what goals to hit. And then they kind of suck, but it's not because of them. It's because there's too many people.
yeah,
That sucks too.
yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think that I'm scared of getting into that phase of that problem of like, oh, we've got to hire, but how does everybody have enough stuff to do? Like, are they doing the right things? Are they working on the right problems?
Yeah. Well, they'll find something to do. And then it's like, oh, that wasn't productive. And maybe it's counterproductive. I always thought you should hire ahead of growth. And I don't know if that's really the answer anymore. I don't have the answer. But whenever I've hired ahead of growth, people are like, well, what should I exactly be doing? I'm like, well, soon we'll have enough customers to do this. And then I'll need you to do that. And in the meantime, try doing this. And they're like, well, that's not what you hired me for. We're a startup.
Yeah,
And that
right,
doesn't work with everybody.
right, 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 totally. Yeah,
So that's been kind of interesting. Let's see here. Give me your top, or give me your take on Dat buying Convoy. You were in Cowan Systems. You were a truckload guy. Schneider acquired it. You know all this stuff. You were big in truckload. What do you think of Dat acquiring Convoy and Convoy still being alive again? It's been revived twice.
yeah, yeah. I really like the concept of, though I was very guilty of like laughing at Convoy's demise at the time when it happened, whenever that was. And like, haha, you told us we were all going out of business and you're
Yeah, it was easy to make fun
yeah,
of them, but yes.
it was tough not to. And though, like in hindsight, like honestly, like they really, I guess they kind of like they shot for the moon and like they didn't hit it, but they went for it. And like, you know, I, I, I really think that I hope that it works. Like I hope that DAT, the acquisition with Convoy, like that, that whole, we kind of cut out this process of that's just everybody knows is so inefficient of like calling carriers, negotiating. And now we have AI tools that are like doing the negotiating, but that's still like so.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say it kind of, if it works, it almost displaces some of the companies that were fixing a problem that existed. If the problem goes away, then they need to pivot as well.
But like,
I'm looking at you, Happy Robot,
right,
and Vuma, but I like them both.
right. I do too. Yeah, I love them. But like, I just think ultimately though, like you have so many carriers, you've got to, they're the ones that really have the like the influence and the they're going to decide what the future is, right? Like if they're going to adopt that technology and use it, and they still want to call brokers because that's what works for them, like then okay, we're going to have AI tools that are going to be doing that, and
To help them talk to carriers and negotiate rates and automate load building.
yeah,
But
yeah,
okay, my other take on this is that Vuma and Happy Robot, there's a bunch more entering the space. I don't know all the names,
yeah,
but the guy who was at Lean Staffing who's now doing, I think it's CloneOps maybe.
yes,
I don't know.
yep,
But there's a lot entering that space. They're kind of, and I'll even make it parallel to science of sales. If you figure out how to build an infrastructure to build AI tools for that problem, that same AI infrastructure can be built to solve any problem for a freight brokerage. And it's kind of like an infinite scale. It could solve any business problem because the AI gets so good, likely, and it already is, but it'll continue to advance and maybe it won't get much better. I don't know, but it seems to be
yeah.
that it's just going to be like, oh no, now it's not just load building or quoting. It's invoicing and paying carriers and freight bill. It's doing everything.
Oh yeah.
And so they actually, the world is their oyster if they figure it out. And there will be many winners, not one or two.
Oh, totally.
So
Yeah, and I thought like, even in cold email world, right? Like when you're part of the problem is hitting the inbox and getting your message into your ideal prospect's inbox. But like the other problem then once you solve that is like, okay, great. Now you're going to have, if you're sending out thousands of emails every day, you're going to have floods of replies there in your inbox. How do you manage that? How do you divide that up amongst your sales team? Like what's the whole process there? And, it's been crazy to see, like, since I started Science of Sales in February, I was like, I really don't think AI is there as far as handling those replies and would feel confident. Fast forward today, it's like, I'm telling all my customers, like, how do we get you guys on this AI reply, like bandwagon? Cause it is like, it's crazy how well you can train a model in and tune that in to really be able to just handle all of the objections back and forth up to setting a meeting or, hey, whatever that call to action is. So it's
yeah.
boy.
Well, I think that maybe in February it was there, but like these reasoning models now, it's not just the LLM. Now they have reasoning. It's like, oh, that's really changed a lot with the coding and with like the deep research and all of that. And if you can put that into email reply, it could be your best sales rep because it would know everything that the company has to offer. But I do think like there's a lot of freight brokerages, including Rocket, that still don't have it figured out what exactly is the value prop and how would you train the AI on your value prop if it's still changing, and can you even explain it to the AI? So that's difficult too.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It kind of is amazing to me. Almost every prospect that I talk to, I'm like, hey, do you have like any examples of really good sales emails that you really like, or like, yeah, tell me your value prop. And everybody's kind of like, we were hoping you were going to tell us like what that is.
yeah, could we talk to you about the company and you write it?
And I get that. Like I do, like I see that it's like, even for myself, it's like, yeah, like sometimes it actually is helpful to have a second pair of eyes that like comes in and is like, oh yeah, this is like boiled down to one sentence, like this is it right here, or
Yeah.
to one paragraph, whatever it is. But it's interesting, like it is kind of, especially as companies are growing, their industry is evolving, like it's like, yeah, what are we really good at again? Like what's our differentiator?
Yeah, but
It's lost.
what I wanted to say earlier, I just remembered it now, is that science of sales, if you figure out, instead of having a SaaS offering necessarily, you could build a SaaS tool that does all these things for a company. But if you figure out how to use all the AI tools, there's your IP. Because there's going to be a lot of clients that don't want to go figure it out, but they know that if you figured it out, they'll just pay you. And I think, maybe you already know this, but I would think that like a lot of your clientele would be seed and series A companies that like they just get given a check and they just have to hire sales members. Like, hey, here's the money that you have to hire sales teams with. And I've had people on the podcast in the past that I was like, well, what are you going to do with the money? And they maybe 5 or 6 different people that have raised. And I'm like, well, what do you have to do with it? And most of the politically correct answers is, well, we have more than we need and we don't need to spend it. But really, like if you watch their company, they have 32 job postings.
Right.
They have to hire. I don't think companies need to build sales teams like that anymore.
Right.
There shouldn't, emotion doesn't really need to exist, and science of sales can kind of prove that out too. I think that's a pretty good value prop. Like, hey, you don't have to hire a sales team. Just hire one account executive and we'll fill his or her calendar. And when it's like overflowing, hire another account executive.
Exactly. And that's the way to do it, right? Is like you can grow, you can actually, you grow based on your sales pipeline and what is like there, instead of like, oh, we're just going to hire some people and try to build a sales pipeline. It's sort of like, we've always been doing it the backwards way. Yes.
And then you need forecasts and you need
Yeah,
budgets and you need quotas.
yeah.
That's the only reason you need them, is because there's an artificial number you're supposed to hit, and you're supposed to hit it per team member. So if you hire 20 sales reps, then you'll hit that number.
Right.
Well, you might have been able to hit that same number with 5 sales reps, but you wouldn't have known.
Right.
Because the 20 will just get done what the 5 could have done.
Right.
So yeah, I have a lot of opinions on that, but I do think that that'd be a pretty cool segment for you if you're gonna sell into any of those industries, the VC funded ones. That's just how it works. They have to hire sales teams because they have to produce revenue, not profit, but revenue. But I think you could have a unique value prop. Hey, you can do both. What if you produced revenue and kept the profit? Imagine that. Then you never need to raise again.
Yeah.
That should be the goal of every company, is raise money and then never raise again.
Right.
That's not the freight industry goal. I think there are industries that are doing it that way now. But yeah, I mean, Ben, I appreciate you coming on. Is there, there's one question I ask everybody.
Ooh.
And it's kind of a difficult one because I give you guardrails that you can't veer off of.
Okay.
Which is, what's one mistake that you've made that is just stupid and like you would change it? You could just think about it and you go, oh, I would definitely change that. But here's the kicker. It can't be something that was like formative to who you are and what you're doing now. So for example, oh, I made a mistake and, I quit this job and I should have kept it. But actually, it was because I quit that job that I landed at this job and then I started my own company.
Yeah.
It can't lead to the actual success. It has to be something that's like, oh, what a boneheaded mistake. And it could be in the last 6 months or the last 16 years. But then if someone's listening, they can go, I'll just avoid that one. Check it off the list. Learn from Ben.
Yeah. Okay. I got this. Okay. How about, so what was it? It was early 2020, like January 2020. And I left Cowan Systems, went to Trucker Tools. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be in freight tech. Like, this is so awesome.
Great timing.
Great timing, right? It was like we were gearing up for the first conference. I don't know if it was Manifest or what it was. But it was, and then like I just really got cold feet and went back to, and like basically begged for a job back at Cowan. And I really think that at the time I was kind of like, that was the right decision. I made a wrong decision by going to Trucker Tools. Like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
But really what it was ultimately was I just felt super, super insecure going into an environment, coming from an environment where I sort of felt like, okay, like I really like understand what my role is. I'd been a freight broker for like 8 years or 7 years. I don't know at that point. And then I like walk into Trucker Tools at the time. Like we had like all of these like really super smart people that were way smarter than me. And I was like, oh, I'm like in not the right place. Like I'm not supposed to be here.
Oops, how did I get here?
Yeah. And so, yeah, I kind of panicked and talked myself back into like, I need to like go back to what's comfortable and what's familiar. But, I think it would have been interesting. Maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was, but it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if I had stayed and stuck it out. Because I do kind of I really like the couple months that I was in freight tech. It was really fun. It was really cool. And it was at a time that was, freight tech in 2020 was, 2021, 2022, those were some cool years to be in freight tech.
Those are boom times.
Yeah. And then you get out of freight tech right out.
Yeah. And then you just exit in 2023 of January 2023, you just exit and go into something else, anything else besides freight. Well, that's fun. That's a cool perspective, and I appreciate the answer because, again, unlike many people I've met, you're pretty transparent with, hey, I just didn't feel secure, and I was like, I don't belong here, and you'd regret, it's a mistake, and everybody makes them. Not many people admit that they do, openly anyways. They kind of skirt it, so nice job on that. Also, I can echo the same thing. I started Rocket in November of 2020, and it was like so easy. well, it was difficult to start, but
Yeah,
then
yeah.
2021 and 2022, I thought I was like the
Oh, yeah.
golden boy of freight. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what I've been missing. 0 to 15 million right away. Why not? Let's just go.
Yeah.
Turns out 2023 and 2024 were much harder. And now we're in 2025 and it's actually easier again. So it just goes in cycles. But appreciate the time, Ben. And where do people find you? Do they go to your website? Do they call your personal cell phone that you're going to share right now?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. You can text me anytime. No, I mean, it's probably on Apollo and Zoom info. So yeah, maybe, it doesn't hurt to throw that out there. But yeah, scienceofsales.io. Find me on LinkedIn. Don't message me on Twitter. I feel so bad. I've had some people direct message me on Twitter, and I like opened it for the first time in like several months. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like,
Oops.
my bad.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So LinkedIn or your
LinkedIn
website,
website,
scienceofsales.io.
Yeah.
Or TikTok. Just DM you on
There you go.
TikTok. You'll definitely have to see it because you get the notification. Now, Ben, I appreciate the time and thanks for joining for an episode of Let's Talk Logistics. We'll see you.